Hello and welcome to Tactically Sound, an RPG podcast. I'm your host, Spencer, and I'm joined, as always, by JumbyJumbwa, aka my friend Matt. Matt, how are you doing today?
Dude, I am super good today. I'm excited to talk about our new favoriteest game ever, Oblivion.
Mo was watching me play, and she was laughing so hard because I couldn't help but get stuck into the mini game again, just because like we talked about that last time and I didn't fully understand it, and you illuminated like so much for me, knowing that the disposition going down in the timer is a huge component. So like I initially was playing and maxing out dispositions, and then after a while I was like, oh shoot, like I can just mess up once and then remember, okay, like right bottom, like don't go right bottom, and then go super fast and get everyone. And it's like gambling, because sometimes you'll do the wrong one and it'll skyrocket down to like 30 and you started at 50. Like, no, I got one more in me, I can get this back, I can get it back to 50. You get it back to 50, you're like, I could get 55. You get to 55, you're like, I could go to 60. Like there's no way I'm not gonna get 60. I got this. And you get to 60, you're like, let's go all the way. You go, and then it's like you mess up again, you're back to 30, and it was really fun. I was hooked, and Mo was getting invested too. That's how you know it's a good mini game when like someone's watching you and they're like, wait, how does that work? And then also I leveled up my speechcraft, so I get a free turn, like that's a spin of the wheel. That's what I was about to say. Like that's why that it's like gambling. Like that free rotation is huge. Right. That's such an interesting design theory. In RPGs, it happens a lot with roguelites like Vampire Survivors, Loop Hero, stuff like that, where that one extra bonus like action that you get that turns the game on its side and all of a sudden makes the player so much more powerful. Like that reveal of that mechanic and how it feels, I think is really fascinating. And it's crazy to think that this chat mini game does that in such an interesting way, you know, like, and now when I'm in a town, I try to get everyone that I see to max disposition.
Again, it felt like a JRPG experience playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, you know, playing one of those mini games. There's somehow it's oddly satisfying, but still like, I don't know if I like this or not. It's weird. It's super fun. The other thing, without those facial expressions that change, I also was noticing this time when you like talk to certain NPCs, their voices change from actors.
Like, that's interesting.
Yeah, like I was talking to this beggar, and I was asking him about the gray fox, and he's like, "The gray fox is amazing," like using that sort of voice. And then all of a sudden I go into the mini game, right, to try to get my persuasion up with him so I can hear more about the gray fox. And I start playing that game, and he's like, "All right, no way, absolutely not." And then I go back to the gray fox. "The gray fox is the bestest guy ever." Absolutely not.
That had to have been, I wonder, I mean, I'm sure the community knows, but my guess is like, do you think maybe they wrote that character and then implemented the mini game after and like didn't have access to that actor, or just like realized at the end, like this NPC doesn't have voice lines for the mini game?
I think they realized like, you know what? We ran out of money and we're going to reuse these assets for some of these NPCs. And it was like a coding thing. Click, enter, we got it. Post.
Yeah, you hear those voices, like, and I'll do those voices to Mo after, where it's like when you play long enough, you just walk around the house like imitating the different sounds you hear, and it's like it like leaves my brain after 24 hours, but then when I play, it's like those sounds of those NPCs just like get in my brain, and yeah, the things they say, I keep going back to. It has major Ron Burgundy vibes, like a lot of the voices. Like, yes, I would like that very much. Yeah. So today we're talking about Discovering Cyrodiil. So exploration, traversal mainly. So I wanted to do an overview of, for us, like, where is Cyrodiil in relation to Tamriel, right? So you have Skyrim to the north, you have Valenwood, which is where the elves are from. When I started the dungeon, they were like, well, the prisoner across was saying, oh, you came from the whatever of Valenwood, you're an elf, you know. So elsewhere, Black Marsh, that's all below it. And then you have what would that be? We're west of Morrowind. And then we are with Hammerfall and High Rock. We're southeast of Hammerfall and High Rock. So those are in the north. And then there's the Somerset Isles, which I really want to get to somehow. Like, the DLC would be really cool to see. So yeah, we're like right in the center, and it's a really large land mass. So then when we zoom into the actual city, in the center of the city is, or I guess in the center, not the actual city, the actual, I guess, continent is what they would, or I guess they call it, like, is it a province? Maybe?
Province,
but in the center.
Yeah.
In the center of Cyrodiil is the Imperial City. North of the Imperial City is Bruma and the Feral Mountains. Northeast of the Imperial City is Chyan Hall and Lake Arius. To the west is the Colovian Highlands and the city of Coral. Southwest is Skingrad and Kvatch. And then to the southeast is Breville and Lyoween and Blackwood. So then I was like, well, what's like this, just the gist of Cyrodiil history. You know, it'd be fun to find a book and do like a video on that on the channel. Right. But for now, this is from the unofficial Elder Scrolls pages. And so it's an imperial province, Dragon Empire. And is that must be what the Skyrim logo is, like, right? The imperial logo, like, because have you noticed in the Imperial City that Skyrim game cover of that dragon is in the town of the Imperial City, like on their flags and on their banners?
Yes.
I never made that connection.
Me neither.
I was looking at it, I was like, whoa, that's the Skyrim logo.
Yeah.
So that must be the Imperial Dragon Empire logo. Starry Heart of Nirn and Seat of Sundred Kings and Searod in Aladioin is a province in the south central region of Tamriel and the home of a humanoid race known as Imperials. Do you play as Imperials ever? Like, has that ever been a thing that you do? Or is that what your character is now, an Imperial?
I think one of my first characters in Skyrim was an Imperial. This time around, I did not do an Imperial. I actually believe I picked Nord this time around.
Oh, nice.
Yes, because I was going for like barbarian, warrior, crazy. Right. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't pick Imperial, but I don't have anything against picking Imperial because they're a good class too. They have good speech craft or something.
I think that's what. Yeah, I think that's right. This sounds familiar. So yeah, capital of Cyrodiil and the whole empire. The Imperial City is located on the City Isle in the center of the province, which bears the location of White Gold Tower. So yeah, that's just a little bit of a gist. And then so who are some of the main players? So these are my own notes. So when we play Oblivion, we first meet Uriel Septim. He's assassinated during the tutorial opening dungeon. We meet Barius, a member of the Blades, and we're dispatched by Uriel to find his son. And we're set on a quest to save Cyrodiil from the gates of Oblivion. And the main threat is a group called the Mythic Dawn. So how does it compare to Morrowind and Skyrim? I'll say from Morrowind, it feels like it's more diverse. It feels like it's more friendly. But what's funny is how spongy some of the enemies are when you come across them. Like, there's these hogs, and I know there's level scaling happening, but it looks friendly. But some of these creatures just off the road will destroy you. Right. So coming from Morrowind, I think the Oblivion gates feel very Morrowind-esque. But I haven't seen too much like marshlands like Morrowind has. How would you compare your just overall impression of Cyrodiil to Skyrim?
I felt like especially the areas I've been in, a lot more green, a lot more big trees. And I'm talking about vanilla Skyrim. I'm not talking about modded Skyrim, because some of it actually was looking like some of the modded stuff I've put into my Skyrim. And it made me think, wow, I was enjoying this mod because maybe one of the moderators missed some of the Oblivion environments. Kind of interesting to look back on that. So it's cool to run through these forests and maybe see some of that inspiration for some of the mods I've played. I actually was getting a little bit more of that fantasy feel, dark fantasy in some moments, like The Witcher 3, which was pretty cool, versus Skyrim, which is very cold, tundra. It has a nomadic feel, in that environment, very Viking, right? This was a lot more fantasy and different. I think we've been talking about that since day one, even with the visuals and the UI, right?
Right. I want to talk about for a second that you said you were playing Skyrim. You didn't realize that the mod may have been calling back to Oblivion, but now you're rethinking that. That's a really interesting component to going back and playing old games, is you kind of get this secondhand nostalgia where you see how creatives are inspired by the things they grew up with, and by like having that empathy of playing what they played or listening to the albums they listened to or going to the towns that they visited in real life. You start to share these almost like you have access to their memories, Yes. And I'm really curious, now that you've played Oblivion, when you eventually go back to Skyrim, are there any elements from Oblivion that you would want to pull into a mod list for Skyrim?
Well, the other thing I was noticing too, that I wanted to say when you asked me that question, was the music. I would love all the music from Oblivion also into Skyrim, and just have appropriate times to play. So if I'm like in a battle scene, maybe it switches to Oblivion battle music. That would be really cool. And I think they might already have something like that. I don't know the extent of how well it's implemented throughout the game, but that shouldn't be something too hard to do,
right.
Combine all the music.
That's a really interesting concept, because I think that's a really good idea, because I listen to all of the soundtracks on like shuffle. But sometimes Morrowind is not on all the streaming platforms. So I've been thinking about ways to like get my Morrowind soundtrack that I bought from iTunes like onto Tidal, like locally, to blend them together. And sometimes what I'll do when I had Spotify is Spotify integrates the best with Xbox and PlayStation, where like you could make a playlist and then it'll like cycle through. And I don't think Tidal has that integration yet. I know Apple Music has that integration, but Spotify seems to have the best integration. But I never thought about doing that from a mod, where like, yeah, that would make sense. If you own all the games, then that license should work. Whereas I'm imagining you would need the local files, so it could trigger, but then someone probably has programmed it, and that would be sick to like pull in a wider swatch of songs. What word am I trying to say? Is it swath or swatch?
I don't know.
I don't want to leave it until I know.
Though.
Swath or swatch? If you guys know, let us know.
Group,
a plethora.
A bundle.
But yeah, like a bundle. It would be cool to have. It'd be cool to have like all those songs triggering in a way that makes sense, and like that's a really great answer. Because I love all three soundtracks. I think all three soundtracks are incredible and like stand toe to toe with Harry Potter and the Lord of the Rings as far as soundtracks go. So that's a great one. Are there any others that you could think of that you would want to pull from some inspiration from Oblivion into Skyrim?
Nothing like that. That's the main one.
Would you leave behind the chat minigame?
Would I leave behind the chat minigame? Like
if they told you like, hey, Matt, we got the chat minigame right here. Do you want it in Skyrim?
I can see why people don't want it, right?
Tell me why.
and the same reason why they wouldn't want to play Final Fantasy VII. You know, just like I'm not into that kind of game, right? That's going to switch things up like that on me. I want
immersion breaking. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
A little bit,
like
a little bit. It's maybe? A little goofy, right? It's a little goofy, right?
So
but
you
that's
have
part
to tell
of the charm.
me these things. Yeah, you have to tell me these things because I'm so used to like this is just how I grew up. Like this is not weird to me. Yeah. So I would never think that it was goofy. Like, and that's the thing I told you about, and this is why the Yetti Den is the way it is because I adapt so quickly to old ideas in games that I'm like, I'm already used to it, bro. I'm hooked. Like this seems to be in every Bethesda game ever now.
Yeah. No, it's a fun option. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's specifically unique in adding to the charm of Oblivion. I think
that's a very Todd Howard answer. It's like we got to keep the games separate. It's unique of the time. Like there's nothing wrong with Oblivion.
Skyrim's a little darker and like has a bit more of a serious nuance to it than Oblivion so far, in my opinion. I feel like Oblivion's like, let's go to Disneyland, but it's like medieval Disneyland and it's epic and awesome, like high fantasy greatness. And then Skyrim is like, no, I want to watch Vinland Saga.
oh yeah, Vinland Saga is a great tone. Yeah, I could see that. Okay. Yeah. What if Oblivion was an anime, what anime would be the right tone? So obviously it's not going to be like Attack on Titan, right? That's way too heavy. It's not going to be Vinland Saga. Is it My Hero Academia? Is it what other big ones have we watched? Now my mind's blanking. There was One Punch Man.
It has to
Naruto.
Well, I'm thinking it should be like a shonen kind of thing, something fun. But it would.
What would be a shonen? Is that like
a shonen? Like that would be
One Piece,
like the Naruto One Piece, like those My Hero Academia. Okay. I think those have like that light characteristic, but I almost think like Oblivion is more like Log Horizon or it's one of those animes where people isekai themselves to their favorite video game world, you know, and they get to live out their fantasy of like, what if God, I died and God made me resurrect as my most favorite video game character in my most favorite anime video game world, and I can have all the waifus I want.
You know which anime I watched on Hulu in like a couple years ago for the first time? Gunsword. Have you ever seen that one?
No.
You have to check it out. It has some weird moments, like, you know, where you might be like, wait, is that what I think that is? But if you could get past that, Gunsword is really good. It's like a cowboy kind of Western, Van Helsing kind of vibe with mechs. Really cool, really odd. It's funny. I don't know if it would be Oblivion tone. The other one that I've heard is really dark that I want to watch is Goblin Slayer. Have you ever watched Goblin Slayer?
Yes, I have watched Goblin Slayer.
Do you think I would like that one?
Yes, there's moments that are cool and good, but I honestly would have better recommendations than Goblin Slayer. I think Goblin Slayer is fine. Like it's good. But like if you're expecting something that's going to like really stick with you, like Attack on Titan, and be really memorable, I would say Goblin Slayer doesn't have as many moments like Attack on Titan.
Berserk? Like I've only watched one episode, but that seems like that's one I need to watch, right?
I recommend for sure. The manga Berserk is just legendary, but I like the movies that have been recently made in the last 10 years, I believe. Some of the animation is questionable because it's a little bit of that 3D anime style that some people love, some people don't love. I don't mind it so much. I understand if you just hate that, but it's like that Netflix Knights of Sidonia Godzilla 3D anime look.
Okay.
And I think it works. And so if I wonder if they still have them on Netflix where you can watch all the Berserk arc movies, but there's I think 3 arcs, and it's like the prequels that lead up to the manga, or also the old TV show. So they're really sick though. Go check them out if you haven't seen them yet. Really gory, really dark, and just really epic. It plays with morals. It's deep. Yeah, it's good.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They got to do an Elder Scrolls animated series after Fallout. Like seeing what Fallout is, I feel like you gotta get a Japanese studio to do a really cool cyberpunk.
They're doing something, aren't they? Aren't they gonna make something out of it? I thought I heard something buzzing around.
I'll keep an eye out. That would be interesting. Yeah, they should. They absolutely should. That would be so sick. And I would kind of want to see the story of Oblivion, because I think it's you could grab onto it, but it has mystery and intrigue. And I think like, even if it's not exactly that, I feel like something with the Mythic Dawn would be really cool, because far, what I know so far of the story, it's really pulled me in. What do you think of have you seen the monks? Like the white bald dudes with the giant like katanas? Just like in full like Catholic, it's kind of Castlevania in a way, where it's like you got the like blend of like the Catholic mythos with like Japanese samurai with like Tolkien. You know, you got a lot of ingredients in that stew.
Right. It gets pretty anime. I'm surprised. And that this game has some JRPG influence for being a Western game. It's really interesting. Like even walking up to what the Skyforge temple or whatever. Yeah. Like it's literally like a Japanese castle.
Right. That was interesting. And that's what's cool, seeing all the different games, is like what styles of influence they were drawing from for the architecture. Like, we'll get into this more, but we'll come back to architecture, because I want to talk about the Imperial City. But before we do that, let's stay on traversal. Okay. Fast travel. We mentioned this last time in a previous episode, but in case our audience haven't heard that episode, what are your thoughts on Oblivion's fast travel system?
Fast travel. So I love fast travel. I think fast travel is a great mechanic. I think most games need it. And if you don't have it, people are always going to be wishing they had it eventually. On the flip side, I totally understand trying to create an experience for the player, especially the first time experience. And so I do appreciate, in a way, forcing me to experience the world instead of just taking my cake and eating it too. Right off the bat. So like when I first played Skyrim, I loved just, traveling around on foot, then eventually a horse, unlocking new places, and then being able to fast travel back to them, because I'm really exploring the world. I'm getting a sense of the world as well. With this game, I got right off the bat being able to fast travel, and that was really nice, because like I wanted to, complete my quest, and it satisfied that urge really well. But on the other hand, I quickly realized I have no sense of where I'm at. I just jumped around to 3 different locations, and where am I in relationship to where I started in the game? I have no idea. I don't know if I'm in I can't tell like the terrain or climate or how this world works and functions. I have no sense of world, right? And so I think I wish I would have had that mentality of like, okay, I'm gifted the ability to fast travel right now, but I'm smarter, and I'm going to just walk and travel to my destination instead, because I'm a first-time player and I want to get a sense of where I'm at. I wish I felt that in the beginning, because that would have been better, and it would have been more like my Skyrim experience, or even sort of like Elden Ring, that has a phenomenal, just open world discoverability adventure for you. I now, since in Oblivion, since I've just started traveling around by horse, doing less fast traveling, unless I've already been there, just like Skyrim, I've had such a better experience. Like I was mentioning, I really enjoy seeing all the forests and, you know, seeing that influence that affected, you know, the modding that I played in Skyrim, like I was mentioning, right? So I've enjoyed that aspect. Did you run into the same problem with me with fast traveling?
Yeah, I was scared at first because I thought you could literally fast travel anywhere. I was like, ooh, that could ruin the game quickly for me, because coming from Starfield, you spend so much time in the menus. Yeah. And that's something that Bethesda's trying to fix. And yeah, Starfield really, really affected the way I think about this, because I don't like the way that it's handled in Starfield. But in Oblivion, it's not bad. I don't like that you could just go to a city without having ever been there before.
Right, it's only main locations, right? It's not like little yeah.
Right. Because at one point I saw something on the map. I thought, oh, I've been there. I'm going to go back there. And it's like, you haven't discovered this location. I was like, oh, good. Yes. I was like, thank you for telling me that.
I appreciate that, right?
Yeah, I try to do that myself, where it's like there are some major cities that I just haven't had time to visit because, yeah, like you, I do horse travel, but I lost my horse. So like, I don't know where my horse is, and I haven't Googled like or checked a Reddit forum of like, where does your horse go? Is it just, I have a feeling it's where I left it, which is the worst because
that's what I was thinking. Like, oh my gosh, it's just going to stay where I left it. So before I fast travel, I always made it like, I better hop on my pony, you know? And then when you travel to a city, doesn't it say like your horse is in the stable or whatever?
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I got to find that horse. Has this happened to you where you think it's your horse and you hop on and then a guard starts attacking you? Has that happened yet?
Oh, dude, that happened to me right after when we were picking up Martin from the chapel. I hopped on like one of the other priests.
It's just sitting there in Kvatch, right? Like out
they
of
start killing me, and I was like, "No, I'm your friend."
Did you know you can parry, and that eventually tells them that like you're a friend and not a foe? So if you parry multiple times, yeah, you still have to pay like a fine or whatever. But yeah, something to consider. Yeah. How does the horseback riding feel for you?
It's fine. It's you know, I didn't think vanilla Skyrim did much more than what I'm doing. You know, it's
I was kind
of
impressed. I was like, wow, it feels like Skyrim didn't iterate, because Skyrim's horse feels crude. Like it doesn't feel like, wow, they really got this figured out. I kind of feel like I would have expected more of a jump in how the horse, because in Oblivion, it's not that bad. Like the camera does some weird stuff that's like it kind of overcorrects for making you feel like you're bumping. But besides that, I think the horse works pretty solid. And then let's see. Yeah, let's go ahead and move on to foot travel. So how does the game feel on the ground? Like just traveling around, do you find enough points of interest? Do you engage with all of the points of interest? How do you overall feel when you're not on your horse?
So this is where the age is really showing for me. There's some games, you know, back in the day that didn't have the ability to move faster, right? To sprint, or even accelerate in a way if you wanted to, right? And it reminds me of like, you didn't notice it back then, like games like Halo, right? You just like, this is how you move, this is how you play, this is the movement, and this is the shooting, right? And it kind of feels it's reminiscent of that time period for me. This is how fast Link runs. This is as fast as you're gonna get, unless you lightly move the controller, then he can walk or crawl or whatever, right? I kind of got a little bit frustrated feeling locked into a speed, and realized that like, oh, I want to upgrade my speed in this game. If like for me to enjoy combat in this game, I'm gonna need to be a fast melee character. And so I think that barbarian kind of build kind of fits that, and that's how I'm gonna cope with the movement on the ground. It's not my favorite. I wish I had more. It's just, but it's the time period. All the games were like this back then. The sprint mechanic is like a 2010s addition to video games. and it was cool. And some people didn't like that because it added a new level of skill, like to use, like it's a little faster now, like use this button to move a little faster. But yeah, I appreciate adding that level of skill and ability to move. It gives me more ability to have more tactics in my action RPG games. So right. Do you feel held back by the movement on the ground with this game, or do you feel like, you know what, it's fine?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even think about the fact that there's no sprinting. This is just goes back to my brain, like transporting to 2005 and just accepting. Like, I did not think critically about games. I thought from an artistic direction of, oh, wow, I really like this, or I don't like this. It was just that. That was as simple as it was for me. So if a game hooked me in, I didn't question what was there and what wasn't there. It's kind of like when I first started listening to music with other musicians, and they would say stuff like, oh, I don't like what that bass player is doing on that song. I'm like, wait, how do you even know? Like, how do you know, one, how do you hear a bass player? And then two, how do you know what he could have been playing? That's the song. Like, the song is, that's the way the song is. And thinking critically like that happened for me with music sooner because I didn't have that many friends that gamed like with a very serious mentality. Right. So I just was like, hey, whatever's here is here. And I didn't even think about sprinting, but I did notice, and this is a very Bethesda thing, is like when you're the more you jump, obviously, like the higher you jump. And I was showing Mo yesterday, like my hops. I was like, that's a really fun component where you're floating in the air a little longer, and then you're able to get up on those rocks and like cut through the map a little better, you know?
I like when games do that. Like another great game on PC is Valheim. And that game works similar to progression in Oblivion and Bethesda games. Fun. Okay, I love that. And then what about stealth? Does your character have any? Like, my character's not good at stealth yet. Like, the eyeball's like straight wide open, even if I'm kneeling and in the shadows. I was trying to level it up some this time just to play with it. Because I went into, I think it was like a cave or a dungeon type deal. Because I wanted to try one out. I came across it while walking. And I guess that is the benefit of moving slower is if you come across something, you have more incentive to go visit it and check it out.
Yeah, that's true.
So that was neat. But I quickly realized, you know, I got to lean into the type of gameplay I was starting with, which was fast melee. So I quickly got out of my crouch position and started fighting all those buff imps. Yeah. You said something. Melee. Like, I've been using a ton of melee also. Like, my sword. Do you have Chill Rend? Do you use Chill Rend? Have you gotten that yet? Yeah. I use Chill Rend a lot. I use fire a lot. I cast a lot of magic. I use my sword a lot. And then I was in a dungeon where, this is just classic Bethesda, I use the terrain as my weapon. So I'll jump up high to like a perched pillar. And there's the dungeons are fun because they'll have these cliffs inside the caves where it's like you'd have to jump from the edge of the terrain to this like pillar. Right. And the NPCs don't do that. No. So whether I'm in the Oblivion Gate in like that world, or if I'm in a dungeon, I'll hop onto something like that. And I have this loop of this guy running at me, falling, like, I'm gonna get you. And then like going, and then he's like comes back up around. And I just have my bow trained on like right where like his head is gonna land. Sometimes it's his chest, but it's like, so as he falls down, I'm just shoot. And then I wait for him to come around, then shoot. And that's how I learned how to play open world RPGs. Like, that to me, I was never going for realism because I learned how to play these games from Morrowind. So like, that's how I play, where it's like, I'll use my bow when there's some kind of advantage of an obstacle. But in Oblivion, for me personally, you get way more overwhelmed. At least this is how I feel. Than in Skyrim, where in Skyrim, I don't remember using my sword as much as I use it in Oblivion because it's tight quarters. So I wanted to mention that. Maybe we'll come back to that later. But I wanted to say that I'm also using a lot of melee.
So out of the biomes, you have the Oblivion gates, you have some of the Imperial cities, you have there is some colder regions north, right below Skyrim. I'm forgetting the name of the city,
Bruma.
but Bruma, yeah.
Bruma.
Have you had a particular city, a particular feel where the sky looks nice and the shrubbery looks nice and the architecture? Like, if you could choose one spot to highlight for, as a biome that you enjoy, what would you say it is?
Gosh, I really liked Chain Hall. I really liked that.
I don't think I've been there yet. I don't think I've been in that town yet.
It felt very oddly, dude. As I'm thinking about this, I'm getting reminded of Final Fantasy 14 Online. Like, there's some elements to this game that feel very JRPG. Like, Chain Hall felt like, to me, like a little bit of this like magical elvish vibe to it. Like
that's dope.
like their depiction of Rivendell, like Japanese depiction of Rivendell in a way. It felt elegant. There was a big cathedral. I felt like there was a little bit more of a magical glow to some of the features or plants. I can't totally remember, but I remember being like, wow, this place is clean. And if you know anything about me, guys, is I like things clean, just not like this clean. Don't ask it. This has a lot of story behind me if you're watching on YouTube. But I'm talking about, I like things clean in terms of like being clean. And so when I see clean on my screen, big thumbs up.
Yeah, like I think like what you said, the cathedrals are really cool. I love looking at the stained glass. I love the lore. Like I'll keep asking Mo, like, hey, what do you think of it so far? And she was saying that she likes how it feels like there's a lot of lore in the world, and you kind of experience that through those cathedrals, through the conversations. The Oblivion gates. I love the Oblivion. Inside the Oblivion gates really reminds me of Quake. The torture devices. I took this, like it has this very she said it. Have you heard of that game Scorn?
I've heard of it. I haven't played it yet.
Yeah, I was really inspired by the art director of Alien. I think his name's Geiger, but it's like this really like bio kind of machine kind of feel where like the walls are organs and like, fleshy kind of vibes. The Oblivion Gate has that. And I went up this, like, I lifted up this like thing, this circular platform that goes up and it reveals the spikes underneath it. And then I like walked up this spiral and there was a prisoner and I didn't realize that the platform went back down or something, and so I released the prisoner and it just falls, and Mo just watches me as I watch him. Like the gate releases him and he just falls really slowly, ragdoll straight onto a spike, and I was like dying laughing. And that's the Bethesda charm that I love, is like, oh wow, I didn't mean to do that. I think he was already dead. I don't think I did that to him. I think it was just, clearly they knew that was going to happen because he falls perfectly on the spike. But those kinds of things I love. And then conversely, I love seeing the cathedrals, seeing the architecture, the roads in the cities. Seeing the Imperial City. It reminds me a lot of Paris. Like there's these Parisian gardens in Paris that it reminds me a lot of. So yeah, I think I'm excited to see that city you're talking about. I've been trying to work my way down because I think it's like if this is the map, like, and here's Kvatch, I think it's like down here. And so I keep traveling down the road, getting a bunch of loot, and then traveling back to the blacksmith, selling stuff, and then going down, getting loot, selling stuff. So I'm like slowly working my way down. So I'll check that out today after the podcast.
Yeah, you should check it out. It's a cool town. I just fast traveled there to check it out and see it, and and I was like, whoa, I like this location. And you're so right. The architecture is really what gives this game its unique feel in terms of visuals. This is where they can add the detail in this game. So I really appreciate all the work the sculptors, designers, the 3D sculptors did, making all these places, job. And not only that, but like the writers like building this world, right? The world builders. So very, very, very cool. And I think another strength in in this game is like not only the assets, like what's being put into it, but also like the design of the elevation, the terrain, where they're putting these assets. It seems like they're carefully thinking out. Of course, what needed work is quantity of assets ultimately, and then also the textures needed to be better. But that's what the mods are for. So I can't imagine I haven't seen Oblivion with mods. I should check that out. I should look up some YouTube, see
that could be an interesting like final episode of the series, is like Oblivion with mods, like maybe downloading some mods.
How do they mod that? I'm curious. Yeah.
Right. What do you think of the Oblivion dungeon design so far? Have you been able to interact with any of the dungeons?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was going, it was like a cave-like dungeon. I'm not sure which one it was, but I really liked going in there and just having that raw, unique, untethered experience of exploring a place where I don't know where the end goes, you know, and don't know how deep I'm gonna go. I'm going into the mine, right? Little JumbyJumbwa dwarf moment. But I liked finding some cool loot. Like I remember finding a really cool mail that helped me with my speech craft. I was like, oh, I could definitely use this at some point, or sell it for a lot of coins. So that was really fun, seeing that and being rewarded, and it made me reminiscent of Skyrim and getting loot in that game and being like, I gotta go find all of these dungeons. Not only that, but I gotta talk to all the NPCs so I can get the quest related to that dungeon or whatever, and experience it fully. So yeah, I think they're cool. I want to go experience more. Have you been in a lot?
Yeah, I've been in a fair amount. It's cool having started this game so many times, because I realize how different playthroughs are almost like completely different experiences. Because the first time I played this game, it's like I was playing a totally different game. I went to the Fighters Guild and I just started doing arenas, and like that was my experience for like 5 to 10 hours with my first playthrough on PS Now. And then my second playthrough, I was going to dungeon after dungeon after dungeon, and I was getting tired of that. And now this playthrough, I'm mostly doing the main quest, and it's been a good blend. So it's a reminder that if you don't like a game, like take a break and start over and try a different approach. Right. Because I'm seeing so much more of the map, and a lot of like, yeah, it's crazy to think that I've put hours in this game before, and I'm like, I still haven't even checked out the Fighters Arena yet in this playthrough. I've done some dungeons, and I think the dungeon design I'm way less critical of than when I first played. When I first played, I was like, man, these things are so repetitive. But that's because that's just what I started doing right away. I enjoy being sent to dungeons. Like I did a mage quest where in order to get their recommendation, I needed to go find this guy. And so I spent a long time in this cave trying to find him, and I saw zombies for the first time. And that was really cool, fighting the zombies, and I really enjoy the zombie design. It reminds me a little bit of like Doom 3. It was a really cool quest where I'm like, okay, this is more fun because I have an objective to find this guy than if I were to just go from dungeon to dungeon to dungeon, randomly walking into them. So I think it's in part, you know, the dungeons are better when you intersperse them amongst the different side quests and faction quests and mainline quests. I think they're more enjoyable that way than just, you know, randomly walking through, because I think Oblivion the map is pretty large, or it feels large. So I don't recommend, just wander and see what you find. I don't think it's that type of game. I think you need a faction, you need a side quest, you need some reason. And then what you stumble upon along that path, I think, is where you kind of get some of that random interaction that is classic in a Bethesda style game. I would say
get started with the game. Get started with the main quest. Get a sense of the world you're in. You know, don't fast travel everywhere. You can if you just want to see something really quick or sell something, right? But try to walk everywhere, and if you see something that looks like you want to go check out, don't be afraid to go check it out. But remember that, you know, work on those first beginning quests so that you could really get that sense of the game and the world and how it all works. And then from there, when you figure out what you want to do, how you want to play, go by all means hit every dungeon, look up those guides for your specific weapons, whatever you need. But I think that doing that right off the bat kind of like does a disservice to your first time experience playing the game.
Right. I should mention, we don't have to go in great detail, but there's altars and there are magical stones. The altars are sick. I love, again, we've talked a lot about the design of these, 3D models. And I think the altars are so cool. I walked up to one and there was a cult. I need to go back. I believe it was Sanguine. But yeah, like seeing all these cult members standing around a altar telling me what I would need to do if I want to join the cult. I think those kinds of experiences as you're traveling enrich the gameplay a lot, where there's that sense of the Daedric kind of religions and all of that stuff. Right. I think is really exciting to interact with as you're just traveling through this seemingly, very floral, very rich kind of garden vibe of the shrubbery and the mountains and all of that. And then you stumble upon this altar to Sanguine and there's these cult members. I really like that. And I hope that Elder Scrolls leans into that when they get to Elder Scrolls 6, like creepy Daedric. That's their secret weapon is Daedric stuff, is like really go hard, take a chapter out of Doom and like make it creepy, make it weird. I think that'd be really, really sick. So talking about a couple cities, I think Skingrad has become my home right now. I haven't actually gotten a home, but that's where I do a lot of my trading, a lot of my quests. It's smaller than the Imperial City, but it's kind of reminds me of the Imperial City, and it's where I do a lot of my trading. What in Skyrim or in Oblivion, what is your like most common type of NPC/village interaction? Are you going back to a home to unload stuff in a chest? Are you selling stuff? Are you collecting stuff and then going to craft materials or do alchemy? Like, what's your loop as a player personally?
What's my
with
loop?
These villages and cities?
All right, so I'm like grinding and I'm grinding in Skyrim right now. Well, definitely part of that loop is the world's famous leading trader, Benethor of Whiterun. So I go to his shop all the time. He's the classic guy. I always go back to him. So I just go back to Whiterun. It's the first shop you really unlock. That I think he has a little bit more gold than the guys in not Riften, Riven. The what's the name of that very first river run? I cannot think. I think it might be River Run. Anyways, he's like the first trader, and then from there, I just hit up all of the dungeons that I know that I like to get loot from around the area, and I just fast travel back and I sell that, and I sleep and I recycle and I go do it again over and over again. And then once I'm done there and I'm happy with what I've achieved, I either go spend the money on what I want to spend it on, or I then move into like, all right, now that I've leveled up my character to a certain point, these are the certain quests I want to enjoy, so I can lock these certain weapons and have this sort of role-playing experience, right? But that's generally my loop. So I'm gonna probably find something like that in Oblivion. Okay,
you're gonna kind of mimic that Skyrim loop.
Once I find out, like I guess more, I get more settled into my character, right, and established into the quests. Yes, I'm totally gonna eventually feel like, all right, training wheels off. Let's just go explore like we did in Skyrim. And maybe eventually come across something a little bit too hard, because that's always kind of fun, and I think part of the thrill of a video game is come across something too hard, right? So I want that, but I'm scared right now, so I'm not doing that yet.
The main quest, I got stuck on the main quest already. I had to go level up. I was like, all right, I'm gonna make some progress on this main quest. And me and Boris get rocked. I won't give a spoiler, but like, we got destroyed. So maybe in a later episode we'll find out where we are on the main quest. But I finally hit the point where like, okay, I need to go get some better gear. I need to sleep, get some level ups, and figure out how we're going to get ourselves out of this mess. I had to leave him. You know, we talked about this guilt, this golden path guilt, where he's like, all right, you ready to go do this? Follow me. And I'm like, my man, I can't follow you. I know. I've traveled in time and came back. Bro. I know what happens to us. We get our shit rocked. We are not able to handle that.
Dude, I did that in Kvatch to the general, bro. He wanted to go raid the gate or something, and I couldn't figure out how to get through the gate. So he just his teammates died, and he's just standing there waiting for me to come back. I'm like, I'm sorry, bro. I can't figure out the gate.
It's like, you got to understand, I just came from prison. Like, do I look like I'm ready to handle a world-ending threat right now?
I mean, I don't even know of the name of the place I'm at right now. Where are we?
I was making a short, and what was the name? You texted me it. You said,
I was like, I need to make sure to say Kvatch, guys. I know the name.
What did you call it?
I called it Kavlock.
And I had to guess. I was like, I looked at the map, and then I like listened to you say it, and I was doing the subtitles, and I was like, he's got to be saying Kvatch, because like I know I wouldn't remember that name. Like, I'm terrible with names. Like, I have to do something over and over and over and over again.
I like trying the name because it's so funny to get it wrong and like calling it something else. I love it.
Kavlock is like, it's so close in that there's a V and there's a K, but like Kavlock just sounds like its own thing. So I was like, it's got to be Kvatch. Like, it's got to be that. And so I just guessed, and I think I'm glad to know I was right.
Yes, you understand Jumby, dude. You understand Jumby language.
Well, yeah, let's leave it there. I think I was able to touch on a lot of the stuff that I wanted to hear from you. So yeah, any parting thoughts with Oblivion so far?
I would say, as I'm playing, I'm getting a bit more and more excited about guilds again. And that's something that Bethesda has always done really well. The magic of replayability and guilds, and go deep diving into a world of quests in each tangent of them, right? So I'm excited to see how deep each guild goes in comparison to Skyrim. And see where Skyrim wasn't, took from Oblivion, borrowed, reused, if it was really successful. So I'm very happy to already be hearing, like, if you murder someone, the Dark Brotherhood will come and get you at night. You know, I'm already excited hearing that, and like the Gray Fox, I'm assuming with the Thieves Guild, and then also, you know, Skyrim, we have the companions, but I think we got an actual fighters guild in this time around. So I'm excited to experience that, which I definitely will, being a fighter character.
Dude, the fighters guild one is sick.
When I first played, I'm so excited.
I was hooked. It is very addicting. So do you think next week we should talk about the guilds / factions, or do you think we give ourselves one more week? So maybe next week, would you rather do lore and like books and bestiaries and like a little bit like picking up on some details of the world, or would you rather
let's
go guild?
Do that. Let's talk a little bit more about I like bestiary idea. And
because like the zombies were sick. Like, yes, a creature, an enemy could change the way that you approach the game. You know, like. So
right. I mean, I also just loved talking about buff imps. Like, that was hilarious.
Dude, I'm glad you finally interacted with them. I haven't seen them. They must have watched my short and be like, bro, you're kind of talking shit on us. Because like, I all of a sudden they disappeared. They came to you. They went to Jumby's place. They were like, yo, are you gonna make fun of our physique, man? Are you gonna body shame us for being small and buff?
Hey, now I don't want them to bother me anymore.
What did you think of them? Were you overwhelmed by their power, or were they kind of like little nuisances?
At first, since I've been in the Elden Ring mode, I was playing in third person. Wrong way to play. So I was like, everything's kind of hard. Right. Went into first person, calmed down a bit. I was like, all right, movement's kind of locked in. That means I'm going to lock in. And so I locked in on those imps, and they died within like 3 hits of the 2-handed katana I'm wielding now. So I'm good with them right now. So we're waiting for something a little bit harder. I'm thinking of maybe if I keep going this kind of aggressive play style, I'm gonna have to start leveling up restoration.
Because like you will find those tough enemies for sure.
Right.
At some point I want to do a combat episode because I was even like timing with the sound effects of some guy's swings where it's like so I'd like wait till it ended and then go in and then pull out and then wait till it ended, and it's like, wow, okay, so there is like a rhythm to these games. Like it's primitive, but there is a method to the madness. Yeah, for sure. Especially because, like I said, these characters level up with you. So I would love to do a deep dive on exactly how the level scaling works.
Yeah, we gotta eventually talk about some of our combat strategies. Yeah. Or even how we tackle certain quests, because that's another thing that was
how we solve stuff.
Really cool about Skyrim or just Bethesda is you can tackle the quest differently than your friend, right? So
maybe we call the episode something like strategy and tactics in Oblivion, and we'll put combat under there, but also just like, did you stealth it? Did you do my thing where you kind of like use the gimmicks and hop over something and shoot the arrow and just wait for the guy to go around the loop? Like that would be a cool episode as well. So that's a good idea. Let me write that idea down. So we'll call it like strategy and tactics.
Nice.
Oblivion. Cool. Well, thank you guys for tuning in to this episode. I've been having a lot of fun. So I'm sure you guys will see us on shorts doing some silly stuff in the Oblivion realm, talking about our buff imps and Kavlok, the city that we all know and love.
Oh gosh.
Any other parting words?
Oi, 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 oi. Have a great week.
Where can they subscribe to their favorite YouTuber, JumbyJumbwa?
Oh, just my name, how it sounds. JumbyJumbwa, JumbyJumbwa. Yes, let's have some fun there. Comment on my videos. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. Let's figure out the next video together.
Love it. And you guys are already here on the Yetti Den, so just hit subscribe, and we will see you guys all next time. Later. Bye.